a little tricky doing it by yourself. They said in the instructions that you want to put the lower purlins in first. This is an older model, so it has 5 purlins. Actually, well, 4 purlins and then a ridge post, I think they're called. So two on each side and then 1 right down the middle. Apparently they do it differently now. It's like 3 purlins total, or 2 purlins and 1 ridge post. So I'm not sure why they have 5 complete purlins, but I guess it does. I guess it would make it a little bit more sturdy, but just a little bit more work to do. So we purchased this greenhouse used, and if I could give you one tip to save you a lot of time, it would be to number all of the purlins and the ridge posts before you take it down. These cannot be interchanged. The holes line up in a very specific pattern, and we kind of learned that the hard way. It took me about 2 or 3 hours to figure out which way it goes. So it's not impossible to figure out and line everything up. It's just a lot more of a headache. Something I found that helped me put the greenhouse up a little easier when these holes don't line up is using a ratchet strap to pull the arches together to help the holes line up a little bit better so you can get the bolt in. You can also pull it in the opposite direction, but just by putting the strap on a different pole and pulling them apart. the original cross brace in the instructions said that we were supposed to put it up top. However, it didn't fit in any of the spots that it said it was supposed to fit. So we looked online, and quite a few greenhouses have their cross braces on the bottom, and from what we heard and read, it really didn't matter where the cross brace was as long as we had the cross brace on the greenhouse at some point. So we put it the top half right below the hip board, and the bottom half right on the basically I had to put it on the post that went into the ground, because this particular post is seems like it's too long. So for the center connection, we're actually just going to drill a hole through the archway post and put a bolt through that to connect it there. Finally finished all the bracing for the greenhouse. Now it's time to move on to the hip boards and the baseboards. So when we purchased our greenhouse, we also saved the hip boards just to save money. And the one thing I kind of thought was going to happen did. The holes don't line up exactly. So what I did was just kind of switch some of the boards around, and I'm going to be drilling some new holes, leveling it. I'm using some clamps just to kind of hold the boards in place. You also want to make sure that the boards line up in the middle of the archways. You don't want them stopping on an arch because it's going to be really difficult to secure it. You want to get a board on the back and screw those in to hold everything in place. I just started working on our baseboards today. Our baseboards are 10 inches wide, and because of the height of our ground post, we determined that 1.5 inches above the top hole in the ground post is where we wanted the height of our baseboards. So I'm going to do that on the beginning and the end of each board, and then just double check it with the level. So even though I think we did a pretty good job leveling the inside of the greenhouse, we really weren't focused on the outside so much, and in hindsight we probably should have been. But not a big deal. I just need to go on the outside a little bit and trench the area for some low spots that we have in order to put our baseboards in. I just finished digging out this area for the next baseboard. Take notice that the first baseboard, which is 14 foot long, stops in between the two archways. You want all of your boards to end that way, in between the archways, so you can join that together with another board. So for this particular greenhouse, before I can put the baseboard up, this bolt is in my way, and this bolt is actually holding the structure up off the ground. I'm going to get a vice grip, clamp it right here, and that will prevent the post from sliding back down inside the hole. I'll be able to pull that bolt out at that point and drill my new hole for the next baseboard. So what I'm going to do now is make a 1.5 inch mark above that top hole to indicate where the height of the baseboard is going to be. We're getting closer, guys. We finished the hip boards and the baseboards. We just need to connect those together with a piece of wood. Now we can move on to the end walls and putting in our wiggle wire. We finally finished putting our hip boards on and also our baseboards. Now it's time to move on to our end walls and also our wiggle wire. Woo! Now it's time to assemble our move on to the end walls, and we also need to put the time to move on to the end walls and also putting on our wiggle wire. Is where we wanted our baseboard to the height of our I just started. Damn it. Is how high we wanted our ground post, baseboard. Archways together to make that hole line up a little bit. Don't line up exactly, and so what we're gonna do, and what I kind of thought we might. So we finally finished all of the bracing for the
move on to the end walls and also putting our wiggle wire. Wiggle wire! Woohoo!